Excellent, Miriam. You've done excellently. This is fantastic. Look at this shot. Look at that for a great shot. Excellent. And also this. Fantastic. You should be super proud of yourself. You've done exceptionally well. I'm really impressed. Okay, let's jump in. So there's issues here. There's issues. Let's see what happened. We can see clearly that this image is underexposed compared to this image. Yeah, we can see that there was definitely less light let in here. So let's see what happened. So let's go back. We can see for sure there's a difference in the exposure here and here. Between these two though, looks better. Still looks a little bit. It could be you're going to have to read this. Let's have a look, okay? Let's have a look. So let's write down the stats. The first we're at 1/500th of a second. Okay, we are at 1.8 and we are at 400 ISO. Okay, now the next picture we are at a 1/250th of a second. We are at 3.5 and we are at 800 ISO. And the third picture, we are at 1/2000th of a second at 5 at 6400. Okay, so let's work this out. I know the numbers off by heart, so it makes it a little bit easier and quicker. So now from a 500 to a 250th is minus 1 stop. Okay. Oh, 1 second. For some weird reason, my computer always turns into Hebrew. So that's sorry, that was a lie. Plus 1. Okay, from 1.8 to 3.5 is really 1.8 times by 2 takes you to 3.5. It'd get 3.6, but in photography it'd go to 3.5. So that is minus 2 stops. Excellent. And then 400 to 800 is plus 1. That means your first demonstration from picture 1 to picture 2 is perfect. We added 1 stop with our shutter speed. We took away 2 stops with our aperture. And we added 1 stop again with our shutter speed. You nailed it. Now this is the problem. I'm looking at these two pictures. These two are the same. These two worked out and we can see the real difference is that this picture at 1.8 we have a shallower depth of field than over here. With this picture we have a longer depth of field. However, this picture here we have the longest depth of field, but it's darker. It looks to me like it's a stop darker. Looks like it's a stop darker, maybe a stop and a half. Let's see. Okay, so now let's just bring back our things. So now let's work this out. From a 1/250 to a 2000 goes like this. 500, 1000, 2000. So that's minus 3 stops. Okay, 3.5 to 5 is actually minus 1 stop. 3.5, 4.55 is minus 1 stop. Now we need to add 4 stops because you took away 3 with our shutter speed. You took away 1 with the aperture, which means you need to add 3 with your, you need to add 4 with your ISO. You went from 800 to 1600 to 3200 to 6400. That is plus 3. So you really needed to go to 12,800 and you would have nailed it. You understand? Or to have gone 1 less with the shutter speed. So instead of going to 1,200 to be at 1,100, that would have also meant that you were at the same exposure. Okay. Excellent. I would try and do that again. Try and do it again because you got close. Do it this time though. Try it like this. Take some kind of small fan, or what do people use? Somebody used a Kenwood mixer, something that moves. Use something that moves, and set up also that there's some kind of depth like you've done here with the Nescafe in the background and the cup in the foreground, but also with a fan. Try it again, 3 shots, all different stats, and just do it without moving the camera. Put the camera down on the table, you can't see, that there's no movement with the camera, that it's down, it's focused, flick it to manual focus, and then just arrange the numbers, just pressing the buttons, and you'll be able to see click, 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 and all you'll see is the depth of field change and the amount of movement will change. It's amazing. Once you understand this, and it seems to me that you do understand it, this is understanding photography in a very deep level. I think you do understand this. One of the things that the students always talk about is that very quickly in this course it becomes impossible to discuss this with many other people because you're holding in such a different level of understanding that to bring people to where you are understanding photography, it's going to take you a very, very long time. So it's an interesting situation. But right now you understand photography at a very deep level, and it's just practice, practice, practice. Now let's look at your shots from your photo shoots. Okay. These stats are, there's three options: good, bad, or perfect. What do you think? 200, 1.8, 640, good, bad, or perfect. They are absolutely 100% with a capital P, perfect. Okay, the image is very bright. It could be that it could be considered a drop overexposed, but I don't think it is, because it goes very nicely with his, with the beautiful innocence of this little child. What I would say compositionally is, we're going to have to do this in Photoshop. It's worth fixing this just in Photoshop, is that there's a little too much room on this side and not quite enough room on this side. Let's get my face out of the way. So I would do that in Photoshop. You are in class 5, so I think you've done the Photoshop course, but I'm not sure. If we just drag that out a little bit and drag that in a drop, this will give us a slightly better balanced image. I can go here, click Control T, drag across. Thank you. There we go. Do you see the difference? From here to here, just we needed a little more room to allow his gaze to give it the room that it needs for your eye to move over this way and then come back, and the space over here was not necessary. So let's even save this. And we'll see, cha-ching, fixes it up in Picasa. Okay. Great. The actual stats are beautiful. The background is very beautiful. Using the 1.8, getting in close, focused. You focus primarily on this eye. This eye is a little closer to you. It could have been better. With my camera to be shooting this at 1.8, it would have sure been a problem, because the depth of field is more shallow on a full frame camera. But it could be that to have shot at 2.2 might have allowed this eye to be a teeny bit sharper, but it's really a very beautiful picture. The light on his face is very beautiful. You've got good distinction between the background and foreground. The subject is isolated. Now that we've fixed the composition a little bit, you've got a nice amount of room for your eye to move over this way and come back. Excellent, excellent shot. This is really a beautiful picture. This really is a beautiful shot. With the equipment that you're using, I feel this is about as good as it gets. The background, although one of the rules of the background is comparable exposure, different color, and over here it's not completely comparable exposure, but because it's such a light, airy picture, I feel that it really works. His hands are beautifully placed here. Not only does it make him look natural and unposed, but you've also, using these hands, created this beautiful movement around here, and our eye gets sucked into this perspective and comes back. We've got a beautiful circle of composition in the middle, the underlying geometric structure. So with his body moving this way, but his face moving this way, means we move around here, we come over here and back. Absolutely beautiful. It might be that I would crop it a teeny weeny little bit. Just take a teeny bit off of that side over there, maybe, but really not such a big deal. Excellent, excellent picture. That is 100% 100% commercially viable portrait photography. That is for sure worth good money. You should be very proud of yourself. You have come a very, very long way. Big pat on the back. Okay, here you just missed the focus. Bugger. Just missed the focus. Your stats are a little wacky. No need to be at 800 ISO. If you were at 400 ISO, you could be at 400th of a second, which would have been fine. You see the focus is really a little bit further back. It's on his mouth here. So that means the eyes are slightly out of focus. This light here is not doing you any favors. It's really just like, it's just washed. I mean, we've just lost his hair next to the background. It would definitely be better if he was moved into a different place. The hair on his this hard sunlight, even though it's golden and very warm and beautiful, does not work over here. The biggest reason is that we've completely lost the isolation of the subject from the background. Pardon me. The subject at this point is now bleeding into the background, which takes away a lot of the energies, whereas here you can see he's beautifully popping out from the background, whereas here he's now blending into the background. Compositionally, it's not too tight. Okay, we've got a movement coming this way, we've got a slight movement this way. I really think this area here is dead. We don't need this area, and it could be to have a little bit more room on this side. Might make things a little bit tighter. Okay, this isn't such a great shot, especially compared to this. This is excellent. This is excellent. Okay, onward. This is a better picture than this picture. However, you've still got a few of the same issues. One of the issues as well is because the light is coming into your lens at this point, bouncing off from all this stuff over here. I'm assuming that you've done some Lightroom here, actually. That you've warmed things up a little bit, I think. I'm not sure. Could be that it's natural. But you've got some flare, which has made the whole image kind of hazy a little bit. You've lost the distinction between the foreground and the background again. This is an issue with this kind of hair, with the light hitting it hard from behind. You can end up with like either a big puffy like white kind of afro, or like what's happened here, where the subject has just kind of diffused and bled into the background. Okay, the composition here is quite nice. I would add a little bit more room on this side of the frame. Okay, that would help with the direction of his shoulder, bringing you over this way, even though the eyes are pointing straight towards you. Yeah, but the shoulder here, even though his body's moving this way, this line is bringing your eye over this side. So it would probably make sense to have a little bit more room over here. Okay, and now this is a great shot. This is distracting. Okay, however, I really do. We've lost a little bit of a distinction between the foreground and the background again, but this place is beautiful with this light in the background and all this bokeh. Your stats again are okay. Your ISO does not need to be at 800, it could be at 400 with a 400th of a second. The composition here is actually very cool. Okay, I would crop in a teeny little bit and maybe make it a little bit more panoramic. Okay, leaving a little bit more space over here. Now what we're really doing is the image is actually contained over this side. There's no real direction moving in. There's no real direction going that way. We're not being moved in that direction at all. Really, our point of entry is here, and we come around and here. And this is our whole picture. So now you're asking me, what's the point of all this over here? So with a picture like this, although our eye isn't moving over here, this is doing something emotionally to us. Okay, this area here with its pastel, muted textures, the greens, these little spots of purple, these vertical lines over here, it's moving us, is doing something to us emotionally, and this impacts relax our feelings when we're looking at the child. So here we're ending up with, although there is a slight dynamic energy, the whole thing is generally much more relaxed and passive, which means his gentle look is actually being emphasized even more. So that's how this kind of image works. It's really, we've got our subject, and then we've got a graphic that is giving us emotional context to the subject and therefore helping the emotions of the subject. It's I hope you understand that. It's quite a complex concept in photography, but once you master it, it's very, very effective. Okay, this here is distracting. Okay, we are going to take this picture into Lightroom. This is a great shot. This really is a great shot. Miriam, you've done extremely well. You should be very proud of what you've learned over the past few months. This is excellent. Okay, let's take this one in. We are going to, I want to brighten his face a teeny little bit, and we're going to soften his skin a little bit. Let's just do that. We don't want the let's just see. Press H allows us to see our pin. Where is it? Let's just paint this again. Okay. Just put the exposure up a teeny bit. That's good. Drop more. Okay, and I think maybe the highlight. Probably the whites. There we go. That's what I wanted. Good. Okay, we're going to create a new pin, a new brush, and this time we are going to do some skin softening. There's a little too much to put the clarity all the way down. I'm going to press space to zoom in, and now we're just going to just get rid of like the slight blotchiness that's generally on all of our skin. Pardon me, less so on a child. But just it is slightly there, so we can just get rid of it. It's very quick and easy. Use spacebar to allow us to move the picture around. This is fine. You don't have to be particularly accurate. So we're going to create a new pin here. This time we are going to do iris enhance. Okay, again, just slightly, just very subtly. Remember the word subtle being the key word to using Photoshop. So I think we've gone a little bit with this. We've gone a little bit too much with the clarity. We've softened it too much. It's starting to look a little bit fake. Okay, I think I want to do a very slight vignette, like this, and I don't think there's much way. Let's see, maybe we can get this a little bit more distinction between foreground and background by using our brush tool and putting up our clarity a little bit. I don't know exactly how this is going to work, if it will work. You know what? I quite like that. Is there anything else to do? I don't think so. Let's have a look. Went from here to here. Very slight difference. But I think it does give it that slight edge. Excellent. Miriam, excellent. Keep up the good work, and looking forward to seeing what you do for us next week. All the best.